The last set of figures are over 1 billion children out of school, children and youth. School closures in over 180 countries around the world, nationwide. At this point, it's affecting virtually the entire world.
Right now, the world's largest homeschooling experiment is taking place.
Millions of parents across the country are struggling as they try to homeschool their children.
The governor's order to close schools takes effect for everyone.
School closures. Very unlikely schools would resume this school year.
We know the impact of this virus will be far-reaching, but what does it mean for educational institutions and the children learning within them?
Everybody is having a major change, but they're living this experience very differently. And I think that's something we really need to keep in mind when we're thinking about solutions as well, to recognize the diversity of experience. My name is Tracy Burns, and I'm a senior analyst at the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. I think that the goal for everyone would be to limit the closure as much as possible within considerations of the public health imperative, of course. Not just for learning, but also just because school, when we think about it, and I think people are getting a renewed appreciation of this, is school is more than a building. It's part of the social fabric of our lives, of children's lives.
As schools close their doors, many educators have turned to online teaching to connect with their students. Technology's stepped in to fill the void left by classrooms, but it's also creating a deepening inequality between those who have the tools to access materials and those who don't.
There's a lot of concern within the education field and sort of public health field about seeing increasing inequality as a result of this crisis, because the kids who are already at risk are more likely to suffer, are less likely to have the access, less likely to have the skills to use the devices if they do have access to them, and so they're more likely to fall behind, and this could become quite easily a vicious cycle. I mean, one of the challenges, I think, is the expectation that is put on a parent.
It's lunchtime and I'm hiding in my son's room. I just feel really defeated.
We were literally given no notice, so there's no preparation.
Yes, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know where to find the resources.
It's a burden to your regular routine. We're lucky in our family that I'm able to be here with them.
Even the most skilled educator has a hard time balancing different demands and personalizing learning for very different groups of children. So one of the things I think that's really a clear take home from the parent side is it's okay to do your best, and it's okay to not be perfect.
The most important thing for parents to do is self-care, because so many mothers try to be teacher and mother at the same time, and it is just impossible for them to take on the role of a teacher. My name is Dr. Mina Chow. I'm a clinical psychologist specializing in children and adolescents. There are many families are experiencing doing homeschooling, and no matter how hard you try, and it is a profession on its own.
I'm gonna let them dance.
Some children, their attention span is very short. They're not going to be talking to you in front of the computer for like an hour. They're not. So those are the ones who's going to be having a hard time and falling behind.
One of the open questions, of course, is the emotional impact, because this is very destabilizing for students, their teachers, parents, all of us, in fact. And that's where it's a lot less clear.
You guys like going to school more or learning at home?
I prefer school because there we can see our teachers and friends.
Yeah, I also prefer school because, you can see your friends and I really miss them.
I think the anxiety is coming from the uncertainty about when is that going to end. But nobody can tell them. And I think that is, unsettling. I do want to look at the positive of children. They're very resilient.
As parents, teachers, and children begin to adjust to the new way of learning, it's worth acknowledging that some of the practices being used could be seen again after restrictions are eased. Before the COVID-19 outbreak, educators globally had been in talks about the need to bring education systems into the 21st century. This may be the disruption needed for the sector to rethink how to educate future generations.